This is the newest plastic surgery tech out of Korea. Just hold the product up to the area you want to fix, and it'll latch on automatically, fusing right into your flesh and blood. Finally, you're a whole new you, total glow up. But nobody knew the horrors waiting inside the factory, where this stuff was made, until the cops raided the place. The bathroom was piled high with mangled bodies, their organs ripped out, and the basement was even worse. A girl was strapped to the operating table, flowers blooming straight out of her flesh, tubes sticking out of her everywhere. What kind of sick secret is hiding in there? Now let's dig into this Korean blockbuster that racked up 5 award nominations. The sorcerer performed a ritual in front of the guardian sacred tree at the village entrance. After shaking the bell, he raised his 2 knives and waved them continuously. Then he sprayed black dog blood into the air and used the remaining blood to coat the blades with eye protective layer. After confirming everything was fine, he stabbed hard at the half-pig carcass placed in front of him. A day earlier, after everyone had fallen asleep, old Jack from the village sneaked out stealthily and poured the corrosive liquid he had brought onto the roots of the sacred tree. He didn't believe the tree was sacred. Instead, he thought it was an object of ill omen, so he tried every means to destroy it. Unexpectedly, he suddenly started bleeding from his nose for no apparent reason, but Jack ignored it. He angrily wiped the blood with tree bark, then he looked up at the tree crown and wondered how long it would take for the tree to die. As he was staring, someone called him on the phone. He immediately turned around to answer it, completely unaware that his blood had mixed with the corrosive liquid, and that a lot of pollen had drifted out from the tree. The pollen drifted into Jack's nostrils. He sneezed violently on the spot, not wanting to stay here any longer and catch a chill. Jack went home to sleep. The next day, the village seemed as usual, with no signs of anything out of the ordinary. The screenwriter Mary was also a resident of the village. She called her friend and said that she used to love staying here, as it allowed her to settle down and focus on her writing. But recently, the villagers had been arguing fiercely over the construction of a golf course. Mary sincerely hoped that the matter would be resolved soon, so that she could have a peaceful environment to write in. After hanging up the phone, Mary had intended to go inside, but she was shocked to find that the table outside was covered with pollen. But why would there be pollen in winter? Besides, the pollen was very irritating to the nose. In the afternoon, Mary put on her coat and ran to the sacred tree to watch the commotion. She heard some villagers shouting insults loudly. They believed that the village chief, in order to cut down the tree and build the golf course, had cruelly poured corrosive liquid on the sacred tree, causing the century-old sacred tree to rot beyond recognition. Mary hastily whispered to the person beside her. When she went home last night, she seemed to have seen something she shouldn't have. The other person asked her what it was. Mary was about to speak when she was scared silent by Jack. She didn't expose him as the culprit, but out of curiosity, after going back home, she looked up information online. She found that in the eyes of many villagers, the sacred tree was a guardian that protected the village from diseases and disasters. Grieved by what had happened to the sacred tree, the villagers invited a sorcerer to perform a ritual to save it. Before she knew it, Mary had been researching until midnight, still curious about everything related to the sacred tree. She went to the tree to examine it closely. Then she even reached out her hand, wanting to touch it. Miraculously, a tiny flower bloomed on the tree. She was about to touch it. Mary asked the man why he was there. Instead of answering, the sorcerer said a few strange words. The tree's spirit has departed. All that remains now is a dilapidated shell. With that, the sorcerer began to pray to himself. Mary thought the man must be out of his mind, afraid of being influenced by his madness. She turned around and hurried away. On her way home, she looked back worriedly. Luckily, the man hadn't followed her. She was about to keep walking when she glanced sideways accidentally. She was surprised to find many small white flowers on the ground. She had never seen this kind of flower before, so she quickly took out her phone and turned on the flashlight. Then she squatted down to look closely, and took a photo by the way. But when she zoomed in on the photo, her heart stopped beating for a split second, because these flowers were actually blooming on human corpses. Countless grains of pollen drifted out from the corpses' mouths. Terrified out of her wits, Mary sprinted all the way home and slammed the door shut. She told her friend about what had just happened. Her friend thought she must have misseen things, because it was too dark. Perhaps the men were just drunk, and had fallen asleep by the roadside. Mary insisted that she hadn't misseen anything. She also sent the photo she had taken to her friend. Her friend said it was too dark to see anything clearly. She also told Mary not to let her imagination run wild, and said Mary should spend that time taking care of her neck instead, because there were pimples growing on it. Mary tried touching her neck and really felt a bump. She hurried to the mirror to check. Finding the bump disgusting, she squeezed it hard. Mary was wrapped up like a rice dumpling. Her face was covered with talismans drawn in fresh blood. Meanwhile, the sorcerer was holding 2 knives and continuously gesturing over her body. Mary trembled violently in terror. She woke up from the dream gasping for breath, feeling something strange about her neck. She hurried to the mirror to check. Horror of horrors, a flower bud had sprouted from the wound, then it bloomed rapidly. In a state of collapse, Mary grabbed the flower and pulled it outwards. After pulling out a long section of roots, blood gushed out wildly, but Mary had no time to tend to the wound, because waves of wails were coming from outside. She rushed outside to see what was happening. She found that all the villagers were stumbling unsteadily towards the sacred tree. The sacred tree's pollen had also taken root inside their bodies. There wasn't a single person whose face wasn't blooming with flowers. Some people's skin had even hardened completely into tree bark. Those who walked faster had already reached the tree, seemingly wanting to merge with it. Mary was terrified and stopped a woman, only to find that flowers were also wildly growing all over the woman's flesh and blood. At this point, several other villagers who still retained their sanity fought back. They pulled hard at the flowers on their bodies, but it was already too late to turn back. Mary struggled frantically to break free and ran home, unaware that the sacred tree's pollen was still swirling in the air. By the time she got home, half of her face had already been overtaken by flowers. In despair, she took out a knife and acted. When she looked at the skin she had cut off, she found that it had actually fused with the flesh and blood of her palm. Mary couldn't accept that she had turned into such a hideous state. She picked up the knife again and began slashing wildly. The next day, the floor was covered with small white flowers, and Mary lay among the flowers, breathing her last. The villagers fared no better. Their bodies had merged into the sacred tree, with human bodies as nourishment. The sacred tree had regained its former vitality. Mary's friend Chiwan, a sophisticated white-collar worker, had very high standards for her appearance. Even though she was already very beautiful, she still wanted to get plastic surgery to make her nose a bit more upturned. But after asking about the price, she couldn't bring herself to smile, because a nose job cost several million won. Chiwan simply didn't have that much money. She walked towards home dejectedly. When passing by her neighbor's house, she once again curiously checked the package at their door. She saw that it said it could make one's appearance perfect. Chiwan thought this was definitely an exaggeration, so she ignored it and went home. But 2 seconds later, she stuck her head out again. She was simply too curious about what was inside. After all, her neighbor had been staying in the hospital recently. No one was going to check these packages anyway. Might as well let her satisfy her curiosity first. At first she only wanted to peek, but later she became more and more brazen. She even thought about selling the items on a second-hand platform. She was in the middle of opening the package when someone suddenly rang the doorbell. Chiwan asked who it was. The person replied that she was the neighbor next door. She had come to ask if Chiwan had seen the package left at her door. Chiwan resolutely replied that she hadn't, but the neighbor was very angry and banged on the door, demanding to come inside to check. Her packages had been disappearing without a trace lately. She hoped Chiwan could prove her own innocence. Of course Chiwan wouldn't let her in, and told her to leave at once, otherwise, she would call the security guard. After saying this, the noise outside really stopped. Chiwan carefully leaned forward to look through the peephole. After calming down a little, Chiwan looked through the peephole once more. She found that the person had already left. She ran back to continue opening the package. When she opened the package, there was a prosthetic nose inside. It was exactly what Chiwan needed. Staring at the perfect curve of the nose in her hand, she couldn't wait to stick it onto her own nose. After a searing, unforgettable pain, Chiwan had a perfect nose. She stroked the height of her new bridge of the nose, in disbelief, marveling at how beautiful she looked now. The next day, she excitedly got ready to go to work. After stepping into the elevator, she couldn't help but admire her own beauty in the mirror. But just then, a woman in a red dress walked in. It was her neighbor next door. The woman asked if she was the resident of Unit 603. Chiwan ignored her and walked out of the elevator. The first thing she did when she stepped into the company was to show off her new nose enthusiastically. Her colleagues all praised her, saying her face looked more sophisticated now. All the compliments made Chiwan's heart bloom with joy. She silently marveled at how amazing the product was. In the evening, Chiwan got off work and went home. She noticed another familiar-looking box at her neighbor's door. She carried it home without hesitation, hoping for another pleasant surprise this time. When she saw a pair of beautiful prosthetic eyeballs inside, she exclaimed at how stunning they were, so she quickly picked them up and brought them close to her eyes. Once again, she became more beautiful without spending a single penny. Chiwan completely lost her mind. In the days that followed, she would sneakily take any package left at her neighbor's door. Chiwan was indulged in this kind of pleasure, and couldn't extricate herself. She found herself growing more and more addicted to opening other people's packages.
603호, 맞죠?
The neighbor kept ringing the doorbell. Chiwan was terrified. Still shaken, she glanced at the package and found that the contents inside had returned to normal. What on earth was going on? At this point, the neighbor questioned Chiwan again, asking if she had taken her package. Chiwan still refused to admit it. The neighbor said angrily, "Your nose has changed. It's all because you used the stuff from my package."
이봐요. 막무가내로 그렇게 사람 의심하는 거 아니에요.
The neighbor continued to roar, "Give it back to me." Chiwan threatened to call the police and have them arrest her neighbor, but she didn't dare to call the police right away. She wanted to deal with the items properly first. She was figuring out what to do. When the shouting outside suddenly stopped, Chiwan quickly leaned to the peephole to check, only to narrowly avoid having her eye poked out by the neighbor. She heard the crazy woman outside smashing the door with a hammer. Chiwan quickly grabbed something to defend herself. She quickly blocked when the neighbor charged at her. Then the two women began to tussle and grapple with each other. Chiwan was no match for her, and was pinned down on the table. After being temporarily immobilized, she was pressed under the neighbor's body. The neighbor tried to gouge out her eyes with a spoon. Chiwan was scared out of her wits. She grabbed a dumbbell and smashed it on the neighbor's head. Seizing the chance to catch her breath, Chiwan stood up and glanced at the hammer not far away. She knew full well that the neighbor would most likely launch a surprise attack. It had to be said, Chiwan was truly ruthless. Kate, a single mother, checked her daughter's grades. After reading them, she felt her blood pressure skyrocket. But her colleague's daughter had topped the grade. Kate was filled with envy and jealousy. She asked her colleague for advice on how to raise a high-achieving child, but her colleague immediately got dressed and prepared to leave. After going back home, Kate was still worrying about her daughter's grades. Unexpectedly, her daughter wanted to go out to play. Despite getting such bad grades, Kate was really worried that her daughter wouldn't get into a good university. But persuading her daughter to study hard didn't work. She had to pester her colleague for ways to improve her daughter's grades. Her colleague leaned close to her ear quietly and whispered, "By a ghost." Kate told her colleague to stop joking.
안 믿으면 할 수 없지 뭐. 믿어요. 다 믿을게요.
Then Kate followed her colleague's instructions to a dilapidated cram school building. After getting into room 414 on the 4th floor, she found the only cabinet with a name on it. When she opened the cabinet door and stepped inside, she found it pitch black inside. This was all a normal occurrence. Remember to keep walking forward at this time. When you hear the wind in your ears, you'll have reached the ghost market. Be sure to abide by the rules of the ghost market. First, once a deal is made, you can't go back on it. Second, under no circumstances should you make eye contact with the ghosts. Soon, Kate successfully got into the ghost market. She didn't dare to look around casually, so she kept her head down and searched for the altar, with a knife and a bronze bowl on it. Everything went smoothly up to this point. What came next was the main event. Her colleague had once asked Kate a question, "How far are you willing to go for your child?" Kate wanted to know what this meant. The colleague explained that the ghost market didn't accept gold, silver, or valuables.
그들이 원하는 건 희생이야.
But in order for her daughter to get high scores, Kate didn't hesitate to pick up the knife on the altar. Watching the blood drip into the bronze basin, she endured the intense pain and held on for a long time. In the end, her vision went black and she passed out. When she opened her eyes again, she was already back in the dilapidated cram school building, and there was an earthen jar beside her. She took the jar and went home. She secretly placed it under her daughter's bed, while the girl was asleep. Then she sewed the name tag on the jar into a doll. It was crucial that this name tag was never lost. In the days that followed, her daughter Jenny was like A completely different person, she studied every waking moment. When the next exam came around, she got perfect scores in every single subject. Kate was utterly shocked when she found out. She was so excited that she didn't know what to say, so she hurried home to cook a celebratory meal for her daughter. At the same time, Jenny's girlfriends asked her curiously how she had suddenly become so smart. They thought it was simply incredible, so they joked about looking through Jenny's school bag to see if she had hidden any cheat sheets inside. In the tussle, the doll with the name tag sewn inside fell to the ground. Kate was immediately hit with a backlash. Jenny also suddenly started bleeding from her nose, but neither of them paid much attention to it. In the evening, as Jenny was about to go home, she smelled a strong, pungent scent of blood, but she couldn't see at all that her back was covered in blood, and that the ghost who had helped her get perfect scores was standing right in front of her. On the other side, Kate gave the wound on her hand a simple dressing. She glanced at the time, thinking her daughter would be home soon, but strangely enough, the wound on her wrist suddenly started oozing blood again. Before she could figure out what was going on, her daughter came home with a dark, gloomy look on her face, and walked into her room without saying a word. Kate chased after her and asked what was wrong. Unexpectedly, Jenny grabbed her by the neck. Luckily, she snapped out of it after a moment and returned to normal. The next day, Kate took her daughter to see a doctor. The doctor thought Jenny was probably just under too much pressure from studying, but Jenny couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She said that whenever she focused on studying, she felt as if she was being replaced. Kate knew exactly what was going on. To help her daughter, she needed to offer sacrifices to the ghost from time to time. At first, it was her teeth, but once the teeth were gone, what else would she have left to sacrifice? Her resolve wavered, and she crawled under the bed to get the jar. Unexpectedly, she was yanked out by an unseen force. Kate was so scared that she wet her pants. She tried to run away, but the door slammed shut with a gust of evil wind. To make matters even more horrific, the wound on her wrist started gushing blood, and no matter what she did, she couldn't stop it. Jenny was doing her homework at school. She felt a cold, eerie chill on her back. She turned around warily, on her guard. She found that all her classmates had become very eerie. Jenny tried to make the ghost summoning gesture she had learned online. Unexpectedly, she actually saw ghosts, and there was more than one ghost. It seemed that other parents had also made deals at the ghost market. When Jenny saw a female ghost with severed fingers standing in front of her, she broke down and tried to leave the classroom, but her body wouldn't obey her, and she was roughly dragged back. Jenny was completely plunged into despair. In the end, Jenny became nothing more than a mindless puppet, who only knew how to study. As for Kate, she died from blood loss for trying to back out of the deal. Several police officers were chasing a suspect. Unexpectedly, they still let him get away. The main reason was that the rookie policeman had stopped the veteran officer from shooting. On their way back, both of them were in very low spirits. The rookie apologized, saying he had only wanted to follow procedure. The veteran officer hoped it would be a one-time mistake, then he took the blame for the mistake himself. To make up for his error, the veteran officer insisted on continuing the search for the suspect. The rookie asked that they didn't have a search warrant. Was it really okay to search without authorization? The veteran told him to cut the crap and hurry up. After spotting the suspect's car, the veteran officer resolutely got into the house. As soon as he stepped inside, he saw a dead tree in the yard that was nothing but a stump. Miraculously, the stump was covered with small white flowers. Then the two of them prepared to go inside the house to search. When they got into the living room that reeked of blood, the veteran officer cursed loudly, calling the suspect a madman. Several basins were filled with different human organs respectively, mostly noses and eyeballs, which looked exactly like the beauty gadgets Chiwan had used. The rookie asked anxiously if they should call for backup. The veteran officer thought that a criminal like this had to be taken down by an experienced cop like himself. This was a perfect chance to earn some merits. With that said, they continued searching the house. When he saw the fish tank filled with severed fingers, the rookie's legs went weak with fear. The veteran officer comforted him, telling him not to be afraid. Then he broke down the bedroom door and rushed inside. To their surprise, there was a headless corpse lying right there. They didn't have time to look closely. A sudden sound of something falling came from outside. The two of them hurried to follow the sound. When they reached the bathroom, they found the bathtub was full of the suspect's skin fragments. The rookie had never seen such a horrific sight before. He began vomiting violently, and accidentally opened a hidden door in the process. They quickly stepped Inside to check it out, down in the basement, they saw many exquisite gift boxes placed on the table, and a woman whose body was covered with flowers. The veteran officer put his hand under the woman's nose. Luckily, she was still breathing. Rescuing someone like this definitely required backup. The veteran officer told the rookie to contact the police station, but before he could do anything, the surroundings suddenly plunged into complete darkness, and a figure kept flickering back and forth. The veteran officer fired his gun quickly to save the woman, but the weirdo still didn't stop his attack. He slit the rookie's carotid artery right in front of the veteran officer. The veteran officer fired several shots angrily in quick succession. The weirdo was scared off temporarily. The veteran officer hurried to check on the rookie. When he spotted severed fingers on the ground, he hastily stuffed them into his pocket, hoping that there would be a chance to reattach them later. After that, he tried to take the rookie away, but as soon as they walked out of the basement, they ran into the weirdo again. Although the weirdo was finally taken down, the veteran officer was severely wounded, and could no longer stand up. He felt terrible for getting the rookie killed. Just then, the door was pushed open and a man walked in. He kept chanting spells non-stop. The weirdo was instantly resurrected, fully healed, and small white flowers began to grow from the rookie's wound. In the end, the veteran officer also paid with his life for his arrogance. The Thai police found the body of a student in a dormitory. The deceased died in very bizarre posture, and had made the exact same ghost-seeing gesture as Jenny did. The police tracked down the victim's friend Lily, and asked her if she knew anything about it. Lily mentioned the incident of seeing ghosts, but the police didn't believe her at all. They hoped she wouldn't make jokes at a time like this. Lily shouted angrily that she was serious. A few days earlier, Lily and her friends had been fooling around in class. The teacher was very angry about this. He ordered Lily to stand up and answer a question. She mumbled a few random words to get by. The teacher didn't pursue the matter further. After class, the teacher asked Lily why her eyeliner was so thick. Her friend walking ahead burst out laughing. Lily also ran out in embarrassment. In the dead of night, the three of them went to a bar to dance and party, but going clubbing every day was boring. Anna, the internet celebrity of the trio, suggested doing something else, like exploring the place the teacher had mentioned, a time-honored old school. They would live stream the whole trip, whether there were ghosts or not. They would trick the netizens into believing the place was haunted. They would definitely gain a lot of followers that way, because someone had done the same thing recently, gaining 130,000 followers overnight. If she missed out on this wave of traffic, Anna would regret it for the rest of her life. But Lily was a bit scared, and suggested going to her house for desserts instead. Anna knew she was trying to back out, so she comforted her by saying that ghost stories were all nonsense. Besides, there were three of them, so there was no need to be afraid at all. Soon the three of them headed to the dilapidated old school. They found that the fence outside the wall was covered with yellow talismans. Anna quickly showed them to the viewers in her live stream. Then she climbed through a broken part of the fence. Although Lily was scared, she had to keep up with the others. But the three of them didn't notice at all. One of the yellow talismans had fallen onto the ground, where small white flowers were blooming. Wherever these flowers were, nothing good would follow. And if they wanted to find the teaching building, they first had to pass through a dense forest. Anna was excited the whole time, especially when she saw an abandoned well. She exclaimed excitedly that it looked just like the well from Chiwan. She really wanted to see a ghost so badly. That way her live stream would definitely go viral. Laura quickly knelt down and looked at her from between her legs, explaining that this posture made it very easy to see ghosts. But she didn't see anything at all. Anna complained that this trick was way too outdated. She said they should just wait and see. As she spoke, she made the ghost-seeing gesture she had learned.
That was good.
Laura clamored to learn it too. Anna just thought she had imagined things, and taught the gesture to her without hesitation. Laura was very bold, and immediately leaned over to look down the well. Unexpectedly, her body stiffened completely in an instant. Lily told her to stop pretending, but suddenly a gust of evil wind blew past. Lily and Anna were thrown several meters away. Only Laura remained where she was, but her face had become horribly rotten. Lily quickly grabbed Anna and tried to leave. Anna looked back worriedly. Only when she realized Laura was gone, did she run along with Lily. After going back home, Anna broke down and said it was all her fault. If she hadn't insisted on going on the adventure, Laura wouldn't have met with such a disaster. Lily told her not to overthink it. Perhaps she should get some rest now. With that, she helped turn off the lights and left Anna's place. Lily went to the bathroom to clean the blood off herself. She had planned to hurry home and rest. Unexpectedly, something strange happened. The faucet, which had been turned off, turned on again by itself. Lily reassured herself that ghosts didn't exist. Then Lily's body began to move involuntarily. An unseen force was forcing her to make the ghost-seeing gesture. After she finished making the gesture, Lily saw her own reflection in the mirror wearing an eerie smile, and it was staring at the adjacent toilet. She was also forced to turn her head. She saw Laura crawling out of the toilet and grabbing her ankle tightly. Lily was so scared that she collapsed to the floor. In the nick of time, some classmates walked into the bathroom. Having been saved, Lily fled in a hurry. After going back home, staring at the bruise on her ankle, she knew clearly that everything that had just happened wasn't a dream, so she took out her phone again to watch the replay of the live stream. She glanced at the time and realized it was getting late. Lily got ready to go to school. Her mother asked if she wasn't going to eat. Lily shook her head and ran off. After confirming she was gone, her mother touched the scar on her wrist. After leaving the house, Lily kept calling Anna, but none of the calls went through. She had no choice but to go check Anna's place, only to find the place surrounded by onlookers and police officers. Lily ignored the attempts to stop her and walked inside. She found that Anna had died in the same horrific way as Laura. She explained the situation to the police, but no one believed her at all. Besides, it seemed like no one else could see the ghost in the video. Helpless, Lily turned to her teacher for help. Afraid that she would be the next one to die, she begged the teacher to save her. The teacher turned around, took out an earthen jar, and told Lily to go to that well again. Lily did as she was told. Remembering the teacher's instruction to take a finger, she reached out to grab it, only to unexpectedly fall into the ghost market. After putting the finger she had obtained into the jar, when faced with the female ghost walking toward her, she quickly hung her head and closed her eyes. Once the ghost had left, she walked up to the altar. The sorcerer suddenly appeared behind her, and said that she smelled familiar. That person was probably Lily's mother. With that, the sorcerer smiled. Lily's eyes suddenly went blind, but this was the only way to save her life. Because trading a pair of eyes for a life was definitely a worthwhile bargain, and so the movie ended. The theme of this film is very simple. It's that desire always comes with a price. The old man was presumably part of the faction that wanted to cut down the tree to build a golf course. He poisoned the tree for his own selfish gain, releasing the resentment that had been sealed by the sacred tree, and in the end, he harmed both others and himself. And as for the others, it goes without saying, Chiwan was driven by voyeuristic desire. Kate was consumed by greed disguised as love. The veteran officer was overcome by excessive ambition for merit. The trio of Anna, Laura, and Lily risked their lives recklessly in pursuit of fame. In the end, they all paid a terrible price. If you like my channel, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.